And we're live. Hi there. I am here with Laurel, who previously went by The Truth About Immigration.
Hmm.
And she is a rising channel. She's going to pass me in subscribers like really, really soon, even though
I
she
hope
just
so.
started.
Sorry, but I hope so.
But you'll remember me when you get big, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So she has a great channel. She actually got a shout out from Beauty or Blonde in the Belly of the Beast
Uh-huh.
for Beauty and the Beta show.
Uh-huh.
And I think I found you somehow from the YouTuber Law guy. It might have been someone in his comments
Yeah,
showed
he
you, or
he
maybe
hasn't
we did.
mentioned me to my knowledge, but I had posted something on his one of his videos because he was asking for volunteers to help him with his work, and I said I'll do it, and I'm a lawyer, and I'd be happy to help. So that's
Oh,
probably where you saw it.
all right. Or maybe like one of the it could have also been because what a lot of people do is when they like someone, they go and they put comments. So maybe somebody who's already found your channel put comments on his channel.
And if somebody did that, I sure appreciate
I know. I wish people would do that for me. Hey, subscribers, help me
it.
out here. Start showing me on other channels.
Hmm.
Also, everyone should subscribe to PewDiePie. Just thought I'd
Absolutely.
throw that in
I've already
there.
subscribed. I can't subscribe again. So,
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, she's up to PewDiePie. Yay!
yep.
She's in the 9-year-old army.
It's funny. I have two kids, and my kids are older now. My son is 17 and my daughter's 15. But PewDiePie has been around for a while at this point. They used
Yeah,
to
I
watch
heard about
him.
him 2 years ago.
They used to watch him when they were like 8 and 10, and I monitored what my children would watch. So I would monitor them watching PewDiePie on occasion, which meant I was watching PewDiePie, and I was surprised at how entertained I was watching somebody else play video games. I never would have thought that that would be fun, but it was. And then of course he's changed now when he does more current events. He does more comedy stuff, but he is really fun to watch. And then at the end of one of his episodes, you're like, can I remember anything that was just said? Maybe not, but I know I had a good time.
Yeah, he does like meme reviews.
Yeah.
He's also doing kind of like anti SJW stuff.
Yes.
Maybe not quite as strongly, but like the regular anti SJW YouTubers, like they do
He's
stuff that's like really strongly SJW and then do reviews on it. But he'll still do stuff like he likes to do Dr. Phil episodes where like
Mhm.
the guests are very cringy, which is kind of anti SJW.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Oh.
that I will at some point do a video on YouTube's PewDiePie problem because YouTube does not want to be PewDiePie, but YouTube is PewDiePie. That's what it is. It is independent creators making stuff that is not advertiser friendly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's supposed to be YouTube, not
Mhm.
corporation tube. Like some
Exactly.
black guy recently, he did a video where he was like, PewDiePie is our king. He's like, subscribe to
Mhm.
PewDiePie. PewDiePie is our king.
Yeah.
And so he's like, it's supposed to be YouTube. It's not supposed to be corporation tube.
It's funny you said some black guy did a video and I was like, "Oh, wait, I know who that was. That was oh, it was some black guy."
No, right? He has the best name. I know, like I should have been like some analytical chick instead of analytical chick.
Yeah, he came up
No.
with the best name.
Yeah, I think he like almost did it like on a lark. He was like, I don't know what to call myself. I'm just some black guy. Like he was trying to be like kind of funny, ironic. He didn't think his channel was gonna blow up. I know that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
um,
the hit piece a while back where they had sort of a graph and everybody's connected to everybody else in this crazy like OCD
yes,
graph.
yes,
And
yes.
some black guy is on there. And he said in his video where he talked about it, he said, that's why I chose that name. So that in the midst of all this stuff, it could be some black guy.
because they were like, yes, these are all the white supremacists, and this is how you
Yeah.
get to, and it's like
And
Tree
he
of
wasn't the only Black
Logic,
person on there, you know.
some black guy,
Tree of
then
Life was on there.
Tree
Candace
of
Owens
Logic.
was on there.
Everyone
Oh,
accidentally
Tree of
calls
Logic. Yeah.
Tree of Life was a synagogue that got shot.
Oopsie. Yeah,
Tree
Tree
of
of Logic.
Logic. Yeah, Tree because she's like, I don't know,
6'4", something
4 or
like that.
something like that. Yeah, exactly. And then Logic because she's logical.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So and I came up with my name because when I was growing up, my mom always complained that I analyzed everything too much.
Mm-hmm.
So a
I've been accused
while
of being logical to a fault. Yes. I know what you
you
mean.
should be like logical Laurel.
Yeah, I decided just to when I decided not to be the truth about immigration anymore. At first I was going to go red pill mom, but oh man, everybody hated that name. So I
I
said, well
didn't like that name either. I was
then
not a
I'll just
fan.
then I'll just go for my first name. We'll just use my real first name. Everybody's going to know my name eventually anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Um. So yeah. Where was I going with this?
Well, the
So
reason I decided to change my name was because at first it was just my channel was going to be just about immigration, but I was already branching out very early on. And someone had said to me when I got around 600 or so, you need to change your name because the channel's not just about immigration, and it's also the name is too long. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was going to wait till I got to 1,000, but I'm like, nope, because people are already learning my channel name. So if
right.
I'm going to change it, I should change it now.
But I don't know. I think you need something longer than just Laurel.
Yeah, other
Something
people
better for
were,
search engines.
yeah, somebody else was making a suggestion of what it should be. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be changing my channel name back and forth all the time. It's
Well, what
Laurel
about
now.
like Laurel plus something else? Like
Well, then there's also the whole issue I had with at first, it wouldn't let me change my name again.
right. Well,
So,
when you can, like maybe like Laurel speaks her mind or something,
mm,
or
I'll think
Laurel's
about it.
hot. You know, like add something to it, but keep
Yeah.
like Laurel in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I sort of feel like my name is unusual enough. Yeah, there are other Laurels
But
out
if
there,
you
but not
search
many.
Laurel
Uh-huh.
in YouTube, it doesn't come up right away.
Well, the truth about immigration wasn't coming up either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
I think
yeah,
it's just
because
the
like
size of my channel.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um.
Because people were saying you've been channel banned or you've been shadow banned. I searched for you and I can't find you. And I'm like,
um
it's probably just the size of the channel.
well, yeah. Yeah. When the channels are smaller, it's harder to find them.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, a lot of my stuff wasn't coming up, and I was like, "How am I being shadow banned? Nobody knows who I
Yeah,
am."
exactly.
And then, as I got bigger, and then also somebody I know has a name that there's a few people that I know that have channel names that there's other channels by those names.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm. Well, if I do get big, I mean, as I said, I'm not the only Laurel in the world, but
right,
it is an unusual name, and there's nobody famous by that name. So
right,
if my channel does get bigger and bigger and bigger, then everybody will know me just by my first name.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I mean, some of the people that, if you look at what's her name, roaming millennial started using her real name.
Yeah. Lauren Chen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, a lot of people that's what they do. Like, they start out with
Right.
a screen name and then they change over.
And
I
I
don't
think
think
part
I
of
would
that
do
is
that.
because if you start making a conservative channel, it makes you unemployable. If anybody knows who you are. So you sort of want to hide your identity until you're big enough that you can make the money off of the channel.
Right,
And it doesn't
exactly.
happen right away. So that's probably what she was doing. She wanted to be sure she wasn't going to be unemployable while she started. And that's one of the things that Count Dankula has been saying is YouTube soft demonetized him. And he said, look, I can't get a job. I can't work anywhere. People are making fun of me because I shouldn't be making money off of YouTube anyway. I can't get a job anywhere. So that's the
Yeah,
position you
he's
can find yourself in. I mean, that's how vindictive the left is right now. They'll make it so you
well, and
can't get a job.
especially he's in the UK. He's in
Yeah.
Scotland.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still parts of the US, like people were saying the Covington kids won't, like Nick Sandman won't be able to get a job. But like if he stays in Kentucky,
Yeah.
Kentucky is a conservative place.
Mm-hmm.
Someone would probably hire him just because,
You're
you
hurting his
know,
case. You're hurting his libel case. Stop.
but I'm
When
saying
he goes to
like
court, he's going to argue that his job prospects are lower. And
on the
that's
other hand, he basically can't go anywhere that's even a moderately leftist city.
right. He would have to stay in Kentucky.
He would have to he would be forced to live in a place that's
Mm-hmm.
like overwhelmingly conservative.
It's also going to
He
hurt his
wouldn't,
chances for college.
yes,
Yeah.
that's another issue. But I think he just wants to be a chef, but still.
Mm-hmm.
So because I had heard that the left started calling culinary schools to try to
Oh.
get him like pre-banned before he even applied.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's the left for you. I
That's
had a comment in
crazy.
the chat. Someone said red pill mom is too close to based mama, and then
What's
they
that?
asked, remember her? Let me tell you about this little scandal.
Go for it.
She was more of an anti SGW
Uh-huh.
YouTuber. She wasn't really a conservative, not really at all. But there was a huge scandal. They were gonna do this like free speech conference. She actually was running it, and then she turned around and like kicked out not just like crazy like the alt right type people, but she basically kicked out everybody but the anti SJWs, and then also started in inviting these like the anti SJWs who are like leftists as well.
Okay.
So the whole conference ended up falling apart
Yeah.
because when she kicked the far, I mean, the people that the media would call far right, they're not.
Right.
I don't know if any of them were really far right. Like one of them was James Alsop. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
the media, he talks about white people, but like nothing he says is really that crazy.
Right.
He basically just talks about how we get targeted and picked on. He
Yeah.
doesn't say like, oh, we should take over or whatever, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I mean, there are some people who do kind of talk about that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but those are mostly like smaller channels. Like
Right.
I did a debate actually with a girl, actually a girl from the alt right called Big Cat Kayla. I
Uh-huh.
did a debate with her, and it was civic nationalism versus um, versus ethno nationalism. So
Mm-hmm.
I took the side of civic nationalism. Oh, and
Uh-huh.
somebody's pointing out that James Alsop is actually a hair Filipino. So,
And
because like he wouldn't be like accepted in the true alt right. But then again, they all watch his content.
yeah.
So I mean, that's the funny thing is half the people that are watching these videos and declaring themselves alt right, half these people are not even white.
Well, I think that gets to what's the definition of alt-right. Because
Yes,
I think there are very, very few people who are saying, we're going to form this group and you cannot have any non-white DNA in you whatsoever. I think those people are out there, but they are few and far between. So, whenever the media finds one, they get very excited. That's for sure. But I think a lot of the people who are accused of being like that aren't. Now, some of them do have ideas where I'm like, I don't know about that. But they're not what the media is making them out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a small percentage of the alt right that is like that. It's really
Yeah.
not most of them. So this girl debated on behalf of ethno nationalism, and she's like, "And we're gonna take over, and we're gonna get our." I'm like, "Well, you guys better start having babies then." And she's like, "Well, we don't do that. We do RK selection theory." And I'm thinking to myself, like, do you not understand how our country works?
Hmm.
If you're going to try to take over by outvoting, you're gonna need to have babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Better
Like,
get going on that.
I mean, that's and that is essentially how people who are, you know, we do have a demographic shift because certain people are not having babies and other people are having lots of babies.
Right.
So, um, so how did you end up? I know you said like you wanted to talk about immigration, but like, were you already
You
you were
can.
watching content?
Well, why did I wanted to make content about immigration because I'm an immigration attorney.
Right, but one of the things with me is one of the reasons why I think I started my channel was I was watching so much content. It was like, oh, I want to be, I want to jump in the mix and have my voice be heard too.
Yeah. Well, there was part of I sort of see this group of people and I'm like, oh, I want to be like them. I'm inspired to be a part of that group. Maybe eventually. I think I'm too small right now, but yeah, I would love to be a part of this whole IDW thing because I think that the work they're doing is very important, and I would feel like I had a lot of purpose if I were doing that sort of work. It's something that makes me very, it would make me very proud at the end of the day, as
Uh,
opposed
uh,
to just
what is
doing work to pay the
IDW?
bills. I'm
What
sorry?
is IDW?
The intellectual dark web?
Okay.
Yeah.
So just like basically the YouTubers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Although I don't think that they're limited to YouTube. I think they're being, some people say they're limited to YouTube, but like they're
Right.
doing book
Yeah. Like
tours,
I'm
they're giving lectures. So I
right
don't think it's just YouTube.
on my Discord server. I had originally given the tag YouTuber to people,
Uh-huh.
and I changed it to content creator
Yeah.
because some of the people were creating content. I think there was at least one person who had gotten kicked off of YouTube, so he was making content for Minds. So,
Uh-huh.
so that's one of the reasons why I switched that.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
I just
um,
created a Minds account actually because Tim Pool suggested it for everybody. Well,
yeah,
he
I
said
found
he
it
was
from
creating a Minds account. So I don't have anything on there yet. I just started the account. I'm trying to figure out how to use it. But yeah, I
I've
did
been
create
on
it.
Minds for over a year, so
Oh,
I
good.
I got on Minds. Tim was talking about them, and also another YouTuber, Justin Trouble. He used to
Okay.
be Justin Anti-Theist, but he's another one. He changed his name
Uh-huh.
because it didn't quite cover his content anymore. He started out as a YouTuber in the atheist realm,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like atheism YouTubing, like what they used to call the skeptic community, if you've heard of that. So he was doing that, and then he was like, okay, this doesn't cover my content anymore. So
Yeah.
he changed it to Justin Trouble because like it's a pun kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he
Well,
was
when your
like,
name is Justin, you can make anything a pun.
right, exactly. So he was debating between Justin Fidel, as in Justin Fidel,
Uh-huh.
or Justin Trouble. So he went with Justin Trouble probably because if he didn't he, it would have he could have further been limited by doing Justin Fidel.
Mm-hmm.
So
But anyway, for why I started doing the immigration videos, as I said, for a while I'd been looking at some of the videos from people in the IDW, and I was very interested in doing something similar because I would feel good about it. And I decided to do the immigration videos, especially at first, because it's my area of expertise. And
right.
because I really didn't see, I saw a lot of people being very interested in immigration, but all of the knowledge, the knowledgeable information was mostly coming from the left. And they were coming in with facts and information and sort of making it look like they had a monopoly on facts and information. And part of the reason was the media was only looking at one side. And I was like, yeah, I've got facts and information to sort of refute a lot of what they're saying. Also, I really felt like a lot of the information out there from the left, including immigration attorneys, was intentionally misleading. And I think they know that it was. So I wanted to present.
Oh yeah, I recently from the Indigenous March, I was looking at some of the other videos. I actually want to make a video about this. Hopefully, I'll actually. Sometimes I want to make a video about stuff and I don't ever end up doing it. But there was there's another video that hasn't been going around. Two of them actually, and I want to like clip out from that and cover those videos. And they were ironically on the same channel as the video where they got up in the face and like banged the drum, the close-up one, not the one that came out later from the Black Hebrew Israelite. So on that same channel that everybody was watching, I went and I looked at the whole channel, and the only videos on there are from the Indigenous March, but some of them are like speeches, and like one of the women was like, yeah, when they started to try to deport me, that's when I became a community organizer. Like, say what? Community organizer? Like, in other words, Alinsky. So like, and it turned out like basically this wasn't even like what we would normally consider a Native American. This was a Hispanic person, you know, who's basically saying I'm Native American.
Well, technically, a lot of them, most of them have a lot of Native American heritage, but they're not native to the United States.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like she should be complaining to like Mexico or wherever her history is through. Like she wouldn't be from the tribes that we gave reservations to.
Right. Or who are now on reservations. Yes.
Right. Exactly. And her whole thing is like, well, I should be able to live wherever I want to. Like, what? It's just like when you listen to these people, like, I can't listen to these people a lot of times. They're just so insane.
In a perfect world, people would be able to move wherever they want and live wherever they want, but there's just too many practical issues with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how about you can't get our welfare?
Well, I mean, if I wanted to move to China, China's not just going to say, okay, it's not just the United States that says we need to preserve our culture and our sovereignty, etc. This is how it is all over the world.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Try moving into Japan. Like Black Pigeon Speaks has talked about that. He is like he says there's basically like no white people in Japan. Like he's very unusual being a white person who lives in Japan. I think there's another YouTuber who's white and lives in Japan as well.
Right.
But I mean, these people that all move to Asia, they all end up YouTubers. There's another one who does creator YouTubing, like explaining how to do better thumbnails, explaining how to edit videos. Not too much of that, like, you know, like basically how to do different things regarding your channel to try and get more subscribers. And there are, like, I spent time watching a bunch of these videos and then I tweaked my channel accordingly. So like there's different things like where the text should be because of where the timestamp ends up, and you know, pointing out how you want to have really big text.
Well, I'm working on improving the channel technically, so I'm constantly trying to do some improvements, and I feel like I haven't done that much, but I have done stuff, and my channel hasn't existed for very long. And even when I linked back to some of my old videos because I was referring to it in some of my current videos. I went back and watched one of the old ones and I was like, wow, there is a lot of improvement since I started. There's improvement and just the sound is a lot better than it was. I'm still working on it, but yeah, it's a lot better than it was. I finally figured out how to put subtitles down especially when I have a correction. I found out how to change the sound level when I'm bringing in another video, because sometimes when I bringing in another video from YouTube and I'm going to comment on it, the sound is really lower or even higher. So I figured out how to change the sound level. So there's a lot of technical stuff. Having a YouTube channel is definitely not for people who need to be told what to do. Which
Right.
is actually the majority of the population. I've been an employer, and most people, this is one of my problems with the education system. The public education system teaches people how to be employees and doesn't teach them how to be employers. YouTubers, people who figure this stuff out for themselves, who figure all this technical stuff out, those are the type of people who can be employers because they can do stuff without somebody standing over their shoulder telling them what to do.
Right. And a good employer wants an employee who is capable of being an employer.
Yes and no. I want somebody, I've had a number.
Not regarding like an attitude, but like
Yeah.
regarding figure it out yourself. Like
Yes. Well,
Steven
like I tell you
Crowder.
what, if I tell you this is the goal that I have, I want this to be the end result, to go to it and maybe give them some parameters. But where I started running into a problem with somebody is I had an employee who kept coming to me with her ideas on how I could change my firm. And I'm like, I've thought of all of these things. The problem is they all take time. I think the ideal employee would be somebody who's coming to you saying, this is the change that I think would help the firm. Here's what I, as the employee, am going to do to make this change happen. You don't need to do anything. I just need your permission.
Yeah, that's exactly
That would be good. And
Steven Crowder said at one point that, that's the kind of employee he loves. He thinks all employers love that, but some
yeah.
employers really don't. But he said that he loves the kind of employee who says, I noticed this could be better in this way. Do I have your permission to make it happen? Yes or
Yes.
no? You know?
See, the problem that other employee was making was she was coming to me and saying, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you need to do to change. And she was saying it more politely than that, but that's how it was coming across.
Yeah.
So it's very different when you go to your boss and you say, here's what I would like to do to improve it.
But
And
you
you don't
get
have to
some
do
of
anything.
that. You get some of that from like the kids straight out of college. Like I think that's basically one of the things I did wrong in my first
Mm-hmm.
two jobs was I thought I was gonna like come in and like, have ideas and make some kind of an impact or whatever. And once I got older, I sort of like understood like you're mostly a paper pusher. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you can have some ideas, but like, basically most of the time keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, stop and think, that they've been doing this 20 years. You just got here, and they may have already come up with this idea. Like it's very arrogant.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. That was what I was telling her. I was like, all the things you're saying are things I have thought of. And there are reasons why I decided not to do them. And I'm actually a little insulted that you think I didn't already think of that.
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Oh, I wanted to mention about somebody wants me to link your channel.
Yeah, please.
Um, I don't, um, I gotta find it.
It's youtube.com/C/Laurel's channel.
C
LAURELCHANNELL, or just one
slash
L?
Laurel. And here we are. All
Did you
right.
find it?
Yes, I'm gonna link it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I will link that in the chat. Everybody should watch her video, even though I'm sure you've seen a million videos on this, but you gotta watch her video What the hell, Gillette? I loved that title. I was like,
Gillette. Like, what was
I,
that?
huh?
Like, what was that? That channel, that video by Gillette.
I mean, I already knew, like, I had seen a ton of videos on the whole Gillette thing at
Mm-hmm.
that point. And I was like, I have to watch this one because that title is just so. So she actually had a slightly different take on it.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that she basically pointed out is the whole video, everyone knows this, Gillette essentially is preaching to men, don't come on too strong to women. I mean, also,
Yeah, that's basically the whole video.
like,
Don't come on
yeah,
too
but
strong.
that's a big part of the video. And yet, as
That's what
Laurel
they did.
points out, they were coming on too strong to their customers.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Because when a guy is coming onto you too strong, what's he doing? He's being overly aggressive to the point where you're like, he obviously doesn't want to get with me. Like that can't be the point of what he's doing unless he's a complete idiot. It must be that he's trying to make me miserable because he's got to know this won't work. He's got to know this won't work. And that's basically what Gillette was doing. Was they were they give the appearance of they're trying to achieve some sort of goal with this target audience, but they're so aggressive and insulting that you think that can't be their goal because they've got to know that's never going to work.
well,
Yeah.
one of the things I did 2 videos on it, but my second video on it was more my opinion, and my first video was just because everyone was talking about the director, so I wanted to look up the advertising agency. So I found their agency and found an article about them. So that was my first article, and then I went, you know, and I had my next day and the following evening, because I had been thinking, like, I'm traveling places and sitting there on the bus or whatever, I'm like, I never really like talked about what I think, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically my next video on it was very quick, and it was basically saying, like, Gillette, your job is to make money for your investors. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're supposed to make money for your investors. You're not supposed to be trying to change society,
Yeah.
you know? So that was basically my point of my video.
Right.
So,
Yep.
uh, so another person who had possibly was going to come on the stream. I don't think he'd ever even said maybe. I just had him on a list of people who would like to stream with me at some point.
Uh-huh.
And he came on to watch, and he's not home, so he can't join the stream. Uh,
Okay.
Gillette was started by a utopian socialist, by the way. Really?
Interesting.
Yeah, P&G has a real left bent. A lot of people wouldn't know this who aren't Jewish. Even a lot of Jewish people don't know this. Um, they came out in support of BDS like years ago.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
So I know people who will not use P&G products.
Uh-huh. They
So I
have a
guess
lot of products though.
I know.
Hard to avoid.
I'm
Well,
like, how
that's
come you
why
don't have Dawn soap? And she's like, I refuse to use Dawn because it's made by P&G.
this is why I'm starting a drop shipping company, because I think that the people in our community, call it the IDW audience, call it something else, whatever. We're sort of in a amoebic community of some sort. Anyway,
Right.
within our community, we are turned off of a lot of products as the products become more and more overtly left in their advertising
Right.
and are alienating us and
Maybe you should sell
insulting us.
Israeli products too, because the products that the Orthodox Jews use, they would never do that because Orthodox Jews vote like 70% conservative.
Oh, that's funny. That doesn't surprise me, actually. But
Um,
but
I,
anyway, so I'm starting a
yeah,
company because I feel like this has become an underserved market. I think the people in this community are hungry for products that give the bird to the SJW products. And it doesn't
Right.
even matter what the product is. Just tell me that it's not an SJW product, that they're anti SJW, and I will buy it. And I think there's a real opportunity here. So instead of asking for people to simply give me outright donations, not that
Right.
there's anything wrong with that, I would like to be selling some things, and my drop shipping company is almost good to go. I should have it up and running. I was hoping by February 1st. It might take a little longer because I want to be selling some books, and there was just no way for me to drop ship the books. So I had to get an inventory of the books, but I'll be drop shipping a number of other items, but I'm waiting for that inventory to come in. So it should be up and running. I will make an announcement when it's up, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Right. So, yeah, you had talked about that on your channel.
Mm-hmm. You're
So,
totally watching my videos.
yes, I'm watching your videos.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, sometimes like I'll sub to somebody and obviously like then I never watch their videos,
Mm-hmm.
or like I'll sub to somebody but I won't watch their videos right away.
Right.
Especially like if something big is going on, I might be more inclined to watch all the people I already know.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, so it also happens that sometimes I'll sub to someone and then like a month later I'm like I don't know why I subbed to them, how I found them. I'll start watching them and like them. So I had a guest, was it my last guest? I think it was two guests ago. Um, that guest was that was his thing. Now he's 17, so that's why I didn't invite him,
Uh-huh.
because I know some people won't stream with people under 18 because they
Okay.
just feel like it could be like a mess.
It
So
could be. Yeah.
yeah, so he turns 18 in like a couple months, so then
Mm-hmm.
we'll get him on more streams. So
Incidentally, my statement there about selling to the community, that's a suggestion for everybody. We need to be selling to each other. So I'll be selling some products, but I think it would be good if everybody started doing this, because pretty soon some of these companies are going to refuse to sell to us. And we need to be making money. We need to have our own economy in
I
some
know,
ways.
I
And
know
it,
that
it
they're
sounds drastic to say that, but look what just happened with Patreon and then with
no.
MasterCard. And yeah.
Tim Pool, who is a leftist, actually talked about this like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about like what if you need like an account for something to sign into your coffee maker someday,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't,
Yeah.
like all the coffee makers have to be used like signing into Twitter,
Yeah.
and yet you're banned from Twitter, so now you can't make coffee because the coffee makers, you have to sign into Twitter to use the coffee makers. He talked about this, I think it was like a year and a half ago.
I think Eric Weinstein posed the question, should Nazis be allowed to have electricity? Like, let's say somebody is an honest to God true Nazi. Are they allowed to have electricity into their house? So it's a question of how far do we go in depersoning people when they don't have the right political views, even though they haven't hurt anybody and they haven't broken any laws. They simply have views that we don't like or
Yeah,
that other people don't
exactly.
like.
And the whole Covington thing is very scary for that. And you hear one thing you hear is in the long video, the Black Hebrew Israelites, when GAD, quote unquote, as they called it, when the Native Americans came through,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Here comes GAD here," and
What
then
does
the
GAD
guy
mean? I was listening to that and I'm like, I don't know what that means. What is he saying? What's
So
GAD?
I didn't know at the time, but I do
Uh-huh.
now because I watched a video by Vocab Malone, who is a specialist in Black Hebrew Israelites.
Okay.
He does Islam and Black Hebrew Israelites, and then he's a Christian. So he's like in the comparative religion realm.
Uh-huh.
And he has a day job too. So this is just like, but that's what he does on his YouTube channel. I believe he even wrote a book about Black Hebrew Israelites, maybe even more
Mm-hmm.
than one. So that's one of that's like he has, honed in topics like you were going to be immigration. I started my channel on anti-Islam and anti-communism, and I've kind
Mm-hmm.
of expanded to be like more more stuff that comes up, just kind of stuff that comes up that I find interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but
So what does GAD mean?
so Gad, the nation, it's one of the tribes of Israel. It's one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And they
Huh.
designate them as all these different groups. Like one tribe is Haitians, Gad is Native Americans, like North American
Ah.
Indians.
So he was declaring their tribe name.
Yes, because when I first heard that, I thought that that was like the name of the guy who turned out to be Nathan.
I thought it was
Because
some
I did,
sort of slur that I wasn't aware of. I was like, is that a new slur? I haven't heard that one. But no,
so
okay. It was actually
so
some sort of
when
respect,
I
even
very
though,
first heard it, I thought that was Nathan's name because I didn't know Nathan's name yet. That's how early
oh,
on I saw that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I saw Vocab's video, and he was the one who covered that
Well,
this is
when I
actually.
first saw, I had something going on that day. It was in the morning. I think that might have been the day I was taking my son back to school. So, because he's in college, so I saw the
I think it was
video.
on a Saturday that all that stuff blew up, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I took him back on a Saturday.
Yeah, because I
Um,
saw it. I saw everything after Shabbos ended, and I logged in. It was like all over my feed.
So I logged in the morning. I looked on the internet in the morning before I took my son away, and this story was starting, and it was very suddenly all over the place. So I
Yeah,
looked at a little bit of the video, and the predominant videos at that moment were all from the mainstream media. And I looked at it, and I immediately, well, my first reaction was, it does look like a standoff. It does look like they're having a stare down contest, and so there's something there. But I also was like, there's more to it than this, because they were saying that he was being made fun of. And I'm looking around at the crowd, and I'm like, I don't see what they're saying, that they were being harassed. And I'm like, I actually, even looking at the video objectively for the first time, I said, something's going on, but I'm not sure it's harassment. And so I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm not just going to immediately accept what they're saying. I'm willing to entertain the possibility that it is something sinister on the part of the kids, but I'm not immediately going to jump to that conclusion. I need to know more.
and
So,
I was just like, this is the mainstream media. What are
yeah,
they up to?
exactly, exactly. So I looked around. I was like, somebody's got to have something, and I didn't know where to start in terms of finding the right videos. And over time, and I mentioned something about this in one of my videos, is everybody builds on everybody else because everybody's doing research. And so when somebody puts out a video, they do some research and they have links to what they found. So then you look at that and you go, okay, and you follow those links, and then maybe you find more and you put out a video. So now there's a little more. And then somebody else builds on that, looks at your stuff, and they find a little more. So everybody's building on everybody. So the first one that
Or
I
just
found,
are summarizing the stuff that's coming out.
yes, yeah. So I found Red Elephant's Vincent James, and he had some good stuff on there. So immediately he was showing some of the other angles. He'd found some good stuff, but I looked at his links, and I didn't see it. Didn't come out till later. It wasn't generally available till a little later, the entire 2-hour video. But I looked at what he had, and I think I found another one, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go with this at this point and say this is bullshit. So I put my video together, I think later in the day, but it was just based on what I had seen at that time. Maybe I did do it in the morning. Maybe I did do it right then before I took him off. So yeah, yeah. And so I'm surprised because when I looked at it, I was like, I'm not just going to buy this immediately. I'm surprised that some conservative media did. Because I'm like, don't you know better by now? Don't you know better than to just accept what they're saying? You have to research it.
Exactly. Like, I don't understand how Tim can still be like, I'm on the left. He's like, I guess he used to be like very, very, very far left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he was actually, when he was at Occupy Wall Street, he was sort of there to
Yeah.
be an occupier a little bit. And then he also
Maybe.
filmed it. He said like he was, but he hates the media and he knows the media
Mm,
are liars.
yeah.
But then he's like, oh, I think some of the people that work for BuzzFeed were good. And it's like, and everyone in the comments are like, how can you have this cognitive dissonance like this?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But but he says he's like on the left, so like we shouldn't judge him the way like someone like Ben Shapiro. And here's the thing: is he retweeted stuff. I understand, like
Ben Shapiro made a mistake with the Covington kids.
yeah.
He
I
did.
also well, and the story would have been because he's 3 hours behind me.
Mm-hmm.
He's in um LA. So by the time he got out of Shabbos, 3 hours after I got out of Shabbos, that means this story was cooking really well.
Mm-hmm. He should have
Uh,
had more information by then.
yeah, exactly. Or at least hold off from retweeting stuff until you can find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So I mean, because the thing is, when I came down from Shabbos, I was like, what is this? I don't trust this. And then the next morning when I was getting up and getting ready for stuff, I watched James Allsup's video.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, and also like some people were saying, "Oh, I didn't think much of it at first, and then like it was all over my feed." So,
Yeah,
but
it was all over.
yeah.
Because when the media thinks they found Nazis, they're very happy about it. They're super excited and they can't wait to post it everywhere. And some people were saying, "Oh, well, this was Russian bots and everything." No, this was the mainstream media thinking that they found it. They found the golden eggs. They can do a story about real Nazis and their kids, and that's so much better. We're just breeding hate in the middle of the country. That made them happy. They couldn't wait to publish that story.
Well, and the Black Hebrew Israelites is also funny. Like, so this
Yeah,
is
they ignored that part.
when quote Gad walked
Uh-huh.
by them. He says to the Indian guy, he says to like Nathan and one of his other instigators, he points to these, look at their hat, look at their hat. He says it several times. Look at the hats they're wearing. Look at the hats they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the clips that I found, um, they had already said like, "Oh, we're gonna show these kids how to make America great" or something like that. Which means like it was a short clip. I'm betting like in between clips there was probably even more about like let's line up and march our rear ends over there and
I
harass.
don't think the media even did that much research. I think they had this teeny tiny short clip and they didn't look beyond that at all.
I mean, even when the stuff came out with the Black Hebrew Israelites,
Yeah.
has the media still covered it? No.
One of them, no, it was Fox though, so it wasn't left wing media. Fox
Yeah.
had one of the Black Hebrew Israelites on there. It was like a professor. No, it wasn't a professor, but it was somebody who was a little more well spoken than the guys on the streets, but he was
Well,
still defending what they were doing.
the lead guy who filmed that video, I found
Uh-huh.
his Facebook this morning, and he grew up like in the hood in Washington D.C. He so there's somebody I know from online who grew up in the same area of Washington D.C. So I
Uh-huh.
already know that it's like a ghetto area,
Mm-hmm.
like really ghetto.
Right, right. So the the Black Hebrew is, I was going to say something else about them, but I forget what it was.
Oh, like their horrible behavior.
Oh yeah, they're terrible, and everybody just excuses it. They just kind of blow it off. Well, I was familiar with those guys because I'm from suburban Philadelphia, and I lived in Philadelphia for what 8 years, and they stand out by City Hall, across the street from City Hall, and they do that thing all the time. We're just used to them. Everybody ignores them. Sometimes people are arguing with them, but for the most part, we just blow them off.
I mean,
Nobody takes them seriously.
I'm sure we have Hebrew Israelites here in New York City, but just in general, for a handful of people to be standing around like name calling other people and stuff, the way basically the setup that was going on, and it was very busy too. Like that's one of the things that I pointed out in my busy video was how it was so busy in that area. Like many of the
Mhm.
people were not with the Native American March or the
Well, they were
kids
by
or
they were
the You
Yeah,
were
they were
just
by the
there.
Lincoln Memorial. I mean, that's a busy area of DC.
Exactly.
And there's two marches going on that day. Yeah, there would have been a lot of people around. What I was going to say was, thank God they made that video. Thank God the Black Hebrew
I
Israelites made
know.
that 2 hour video.
I don't know how somebody found it, but somebody found it and like
Yeah, that's
put
what
it.
exonerated the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And you see them like they come around in a circle. Here come get and and the thing is, they seem to know, the Black Hebrew Israelites seem to know that like the Native Americans, their march was basically, like I said, a lefty lefty march. Somebody from their group put up videos of some of the speeches, and one of the speeches was like, "Where I'm being deported. I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be deported from my land. I'm a Native American. Like, how are you being deported if you're a Native American? Come on."
Mm-hmm.
Deported to your, like, if somebody was really Native American, they would not be deported.
Right.
Clearly they mean native to North America, but another part.
Or or Southern America, South America. Southern
Right,
America, South America.
exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Like my son is 30% Quechua, which is modern Inca. So his father was from Bolivia, and so my son is 30% Native American, I suppose, but he doesn't see it that way because that's South America. It's in another continent. It would
Right.
be like saying, if you say that the Quechua are native to North America, that would be like saying that, my ancestors from Europe, I might as well be from Egypt. Close enough, right? No, it's actually an entirely different people.
Yeah,
And
or
it's
like
kind of racist, if you will, to say that all Native Americans are the same. They're actually very distinct groups with different languages and different histories and different cultures. They're not all the same thing.
no. And they would get mad at us for doing that, and yet
Mm-hmm.
they're letting another leftist do it because, they're
Right.
pushing the same narrative. So,
And they've had a very different experience in South America. Right now, the Quechua, well, the native peoples in Bolivia have a majority. So it's a very different situation from Native Americans in the United States.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, and they don't, like, we have reservations because we basically bought all of the land, bought the reservations from them.
Mm-hmm.
And in other countries, I don't think they have that. In Canada, they do.
Yeah. Well, part of why they don't have reservations in a lot of South American countries is either all of them were killed or they just live in villages. So they don't really need
Well,
reservations.
well, and also, they basically rape the women, so
Mm.
everybody's a mixture.
It depends on the country because, like, Argentina is mostly Iberian, Southern Europe, Spanish,
Right.
Portuguese. Whereas, as I said, Bolivia has a Native American or indigenous people majority. So it really depends on which country in South America you're talking about.
Well, and I know in Mexico, you get basically a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in high school, I was working for a woman who had grown up in Mexico. She married a doctor. She was in law school. Law school!
Mm-hmm.
And so she was she was telling me, she was like, yeah, in Mexico, in my country, they basically discriminate based on how indigenous looking you are.
That's
So
true.
So, like, if you think about it, all the actresses and actors on Mexican TV shows, they're all white, like white.
Yes. A lot of them are blonde. You're like, are there that many blonde people in Mexico? You would think that based on their telenovelas, like half the people are blonde.
Right, exactly. And like everybody basically looks white, and yet, that's not how the country looks. Now, also, Mexicans that come to the United States, like Trump said, Mexico is not sending its best. They don't
Mhm.
like the brown people. You ever notice how like we get basically everybody we get from Mexico is like really brown?
Well, most Mexicans are.
Mm, I've been to Mexico. People in Mexico are not as dark as Mexicans in the US.
It depends on what part of Mexico. There's a
They're
lot
also a
more.
lot nicer.
Yeah.
Mexicans in Mexico are significantly nicer than Mexicans like illegals living in Texas. Like I had so many problems with my neighbors in Texas. And then I had another neighbor. He was an American Hispanic ancestry,
Uh-huh.
but I think way back. But his wife was like a white Mexican,
Uh-huh.
didn't speak English, but was born. I think she was born in the States. She was an American citizen. I know that.
Yeah.
And he told me like her relatives who were all illegal, they would like start crap with her. And he was telling me this guy, because the husband spoke English, he was telling me how she would like threaten to call immigration. INS at the time. This was before we had ICE.
Right.
And so this is going a while
Yeah.
back. And he was saying how like she would be like, I'll call immigration on all of you.
Well, I can say that when I lived in Texas, I lived in Houston for 13 years. I can't say that I had a negative experience with Latin American immigrants any
Oh,
more than,
they used to
yeah.
grab my boobs.
Oh, well, that would be a bad experience.
Yes.
That did
in
not happen to
particular,
me.
in particular, there were two guys that lived in my complex. I lived in a terrible like ghetto complex. They used to like mix meth in their kitchens. We'd have
Wow.
fires in the complex and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got out of there.
I'm not sure that's representative of most Mexican Americans or most Mexican immigrants, lawful or unlawful.
I don't know,
Uh-huh.
but these guys that lived next to me in particular, and other guys would like grab my rear end, grab my boobs.
It's pretty
These
bad.
guys that live next to me, they also, I remember the last time they messed with me, because they would always just like mess with me, like, just, I don't know, just act very creepy. And the last time they messed with me, I was going to back out of my parking spot
Uh-huh.
where it was parked, and the guy stands behind my car. And I'm thinking, like, how am I going to leave? I have to go. And finally, I was like, wait a minute, I've got like 2,000 tons. I just slowly started backing out, and like he jumped out of the way.
Good, good.
He turned white like a sheet, too.
Like, I will run you over, just so you know. Yeah, because he's
Uh,
basically, at that point, he's holding you against your will. That would be unlawful confinement if he's blocking your way out and you are allowed to use force to get out of that situation. So the
ah,
law was actually on your side.
plus I was in Texas, so
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You need some pepper spray, AC. Well, I was inside my car. I had pepper spray when I lived in Texas. I called the cops at one point to ask them like for advice, because I had this creepy neighbor and like other men and stuff, and I asked them if I should get a gun. They were like, just get some pepper spray, self-defense moves. So we have a comment in the chat. Good comment here. It's very common that illegals make fun of natural born or legal Hispanics for not being Hispanic enough. I believe that. That's probably, is that when they call them coconuts? Because I
I've
know like
never heard that.
I've heard coconut. It's like basically like when they call a black person
In
the
Oreo.
C
Yeah.
word. The C word.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, when they call black people the C word, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Everything is biggie here in Texas, including harassment. Good comment there. All right. So it looks like we're at about an hour, and
Uh-huh.
what you call it? I guess the other person didn't show up, so
Yeah,
but
whatever.
you know, so parting words for my audience.
I go over to my website and subscribe.
Yeah, sub to her YouTube channel.
Sub to my
She's
YouTube channel. I
she's
said my
got good,
website channel.
yeah, she's got good videos over there. She
Uh-huh.
does not have a Twitter yet.
I'll
You have
have
a
to get
Minds,
one.
right? She has a Minds.
I created a Minds account, but there's no content on it yet. So just give me a little time to put that together.
Somebody comes in and says, "What did I miss?" The whole
The
chat is
whole
like,
hour.
"We're just winding it down right now." I'm sorry, guy. So I don't know. Maybe next time you'll have me on your channel.
Yeah, yeah. I have to figure out how to do the stream, but
Oh,
that sounds
somebody
good.
said, "What do you mainly cover?" So she started with immigration, and now she's kind of covering like anything politics she finds interesting. Would you say
Hmm.
that's correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like a lot of the current events that everybody makes a video on.
Whenever I can, like give some legal knowledge, whenever that's relevant to the story, I'll throw that in there.
Yeah, like I know you did a video about YouTuber Law's case
Well, it was
and talked
the
about
Sargon of
contract.
Akkad case because everybody was like, "Well, this is just like the cake baker case," and I'm like, "No, this is completely different because they had actually entered into a contract. So this is Patreon
Right.
leaving a contract, not refusing to enter into a contract." So it was driving me crazy that I was seeing that out there. I'm like, I gotta talk about this. And it
Yeah.
was coming at it from a legal angle. And man, that got a lot of views. That's actually my most viewed video. And I was just presenting some very basic knowledge about contracts.
Right. Yeah, and also you discussed the concept but maybe didn't use the term promissory estoppel.
Mm-hmm.
I took one law class in high school or in college. Like,
Yeah. But it
all
was
right.
basically, yeah, that because Patreon sort of said, you can use our platform and make money. And then Sargon acts on that promise and starts building his following, whereas he might have done something else if Patreon hadn't made that promise. And then Patreon pulls the rug out. So it's completely different from the cake baker.
Ah, yeah, yeah, exactly. Because the cake baker, they were just strangers, whereas they already had a contract with.
Exactly. Yes.
Even if they make the contract void the fact that they're entering into some contract.
Makes it
But
different.
yeah, exactly. It brings in promissory estoppel. All right. So thanks for stopping by my channel, you as well as the audience. All right. I'll see you guys all later.
All right. Thanks very much.